Hi, welcome to this San Antonio Book Festival event with Adib Khorram. Adib lives in Kansas City, and when he isn't writing, you can probably find him trying to get his 100-yard freestyle under a minute, learning to do a Lutz jump, or steeping a cup of oolong tea. He's a big fan of tea. His first novel for teens, Darius the Great Is Not Okay, earned several awards, but today he's going to be talking to you about his first picture book, 7 Special Somethings. And it's about a special holiday called Nowruz, which is also known as the Persian New Year, and it's a holiday that welcomes the spring every year. People who celebrate Nowruz just celebrated it a few weeks ago. So we hope you enjoy this event.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adib Khorram. I'm the author of 7 Special Somethings, a Nowruz story. It's my very first picture book. I'm also the author of a couple novels, Darius the Great Is Not Okay, and Darius the Great Deserves Better, both of which are available from our beautiful... Actually, now I don't know if the Festival Bookstore does have them. If you can't tell, even though I look like a grown-up, I do not have my stuff together. I'm a little bit of chaos, and this is going to be fun for all of us. Anyway, certainly, yes, Nowhere Bookshop will definitely have this for you, and maybe they'll have the Darius books as well. Who knows? But I'm so excited to get to talk with you all about 7 Special Somethings. It's my, as I mentioned, my very first picture book, and it really came about because I'm Iranian American, in case you couldn't tell or didn't notice. And growing up in Kansas City, Missouri, I didn't really know a whole lot of other Iranian Americans. Me and my sister were the only ones at our school, which was otherwise overwhelmingly white and Christian. And so when we celebrated Nowruz, which is the Iranian New Year, we didn't really have anyone else that knew what that was. Now, we did get out of school every year for Nowruz, which is very exciting, but we didn't really have anyone to share that with at school. And so I really wanted to write a book that could basically be for kids like me. For those who don't know about Nowruz, Nowruz is the Iranian celebration of New Year. It's celebrated by Iranians and Persian peoples in Afghanistan and the neighboring region, as well as the Iranian and Persian diaspora all across the world. It happens every year on or around March 20th or 21st. It's basically tied to the vernal equinox, and this year it actually is on March 21st. And it's really a celebration of spring and plants coming back to life and really rebirth. And every year people in Iran clean out their houses, beat all the rugs, make lots of food for their friends and family, and of course give gifts for little kids. Growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of connection to the Iranian side of my family. They all left Iran after the revolution and settled in Vancouver, British Columbia, while me and my family were in Kansas City, Missouri. And so I did get to see them sometimes, but it was almost always over summer vacation. And so I didn't get to see them for Nowruz. And so for Nowruz, it was really just me and my mom and my dad and my sister. And one of the most important parts of the Nowruz celebration is making a haft scene, which you can see on the cover of the book. The haft scene, or the sofre haft scene, is a table with 7 items on it that represent spring and the new year. And so, hence the title, 7 Special Somethings. And so I thought it'd be fun to start with reading a little bit of the book and admiring the beautiful artwork by the illustrator, Zainab Faidi, and then talk a little bit about what it was like to make a book, which is a really fun thing to do. So here we go. This is 7 Special Somethings, a Nowruz story. I also always like to admire the beautiful end papers because I think they're really beautiful. And I'm really bad at drawing, and so I admire anyone who is good. Kian ran down the stairs laughing. It was the first day of spring, and Nowruz was here at last. There's Kian. I really like his fashion sense, actually. I think that's a really good outfit, and I like his cat. Though he clearly left some toys on the stairs. While Maman and Baba cooked and cleaned all day, Kian was allowed to help. It was Kian's job to match the socks and beat the rugs, and even vacuum. Here you can see Kian doing his work, and Maman and Baba getting ready for Nowruz. The Sofre Haftzin was set in the living room. Maman, Kian said, why are there only 7 things on the Haftzin? It's tradition, Kian. Nowruz is the start of spring, Maman said, when everything is new again. The 7 S's on the table are symbols. We hope they will make us happy in the new year. There's sabze, or sprouts, for rebirth. Sirke, or vinegar, for patience. Sir, garlic, for health. Seke, or coins, for wealth. Sib, apples, for beauty. Samanu, or pudding, for bravery. And sumok, spice, for sunshine. Maman went back to cooking, and Baba left for the airport to pick up Khanumjan and Akajan. Kian studied the table. Why only 7 symbols? If I found more S's, could I make our new year even happier? Sonny starts with S. What will Sonny bring us in the new year? But all Sonny brought was chaos. So that's just that's like the first part of the book. Hopefully you will maybe pick it up at the store and enjoy it for Nowruz. And isn't that just the way of cats, really? I really like cats, but also they are chaos incarnate. So how did this book come to be? And why does it matter that we tell each other stories? I think that for me, stories are my way of making sense of the world. And I know you're just watching me on a video right now, and I can't see you, but I hope that maybe you are starting to learn that stories are a way that you can make sense of the world as well. It's March of 2021 as I'm recording this, and I'm sure we all know that the world is a little weird right now, and probably a little scary at times or confusing. And stories are a way of making sense of all of that. I hope you are all telling your stories and writing them down or making art or music or anything to help you remember them. And so for me, when I try to tell a story, I almost always start with something that bothers me or something that confuses me or something that makes me happy. And in this case, I picked Nowruz, which does make me happy. But it also does bother me sometimes that no one else knew what it was. And so I had to say, how can I help people know what Nowruz is and what it means to me? And so I started just kind of creating. I came up with the idea of Kian, a little boy, like I once was, who wanted to understand what Nowruz meant for his family. And so he wanted to test things out and try things. And what better thing to try than putting a cat on a table and see what happens? And obviously, again, it doesn't go well. I don't recommend putting a cat on your Haftzin if you choose to make one, but I do encourage you to make one. It's getting close to the time when we start growing sabze. If you get some little lentils or wheatgrass or really any kind of seeds, you can grow them. And spice, coins, apples, garlic, vinegar, you can find almost anywhere. Pudding is maybe a little harder to find, but hopefully you can find an Iranian place around to get some pudding. I also thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about kind of who I am and how I started writing. I know many of you watching this are probably very young and very alarmed by my baldness and how I'm still kind of a weirdo. But rest assured, you too can grow up and be a weirdo and write books and be successful. So I first started writing when I was really young. Like, I think I was in middle school. And I started writing stories with my best friends. And we wrote stories about space adventures and dinosaurs and robots and ninjas. And it was really fun because we would each take turns writing chapters. And there were no rules. We got to basically use our imaginations and invent whole worlds. And that fire of making something, of creating, is something that I've really carried with me ever since. As I got older and went into high school, I started studying theater and learning more about storytelling through plays and musicals and using our voices and our bodies to tell stories as well. And that was really cool and exciting and fun. But I was always really still very much entranced with writing. And so I went off to college to study theater because I didn't really know that you could write stories like for a living. I knew people did write them, but especially by the time I got to high school, all the books I were reading were by like dead people. And I didn't know people were writing new books. I only knew that the books were all old and written by old people. But eventually, after college, I went to the library to get more books and found more new books and exciting books, and especially books that are written for young people. And I realized that books are still a very living thing, and I wanted to be a part of that. And so I started writing books for real. And I was really, really bad at it at first. I think, like a lot of things, it took me a while. It took a lot of practice, a lot of hard work, and a lot of trying and failing before I finally wrote a book that I thought was good. And that was actually this book, which is a book for older kids, Darius the Great is Not Okay. And that one also actually drew from my experiences of being Iranian American growing up in the United States, and uh, and kind of dealt with how I reconciled my sense of identity. But learning about stories and writing them helped me learn about myself as well. And that's what's so exciting about them. So, one of the other really fun things about books is getting to share them with people and getting to read books by other people that I admire and getting to see the kind of stories they like to put into the world. So, I wanted to show you some of my favorites that I have on my shelves. The first one is called The Book of Mistakes by Karina Luken, which is really about imagination. And it really starts with how you can start with just a ghost of an idea and maybe make a little mistake, but it can grow into so much more. I don't want to like spoil it, but it's a really fun one and really makes me happy. And I think that's so exciting about books. Another book that I really love is Hair Love by Matthew Cherry, illustrated by Vashti Harrison. You might have also seen that there's like a cartoon of this story of a little girl and her dad trying to do her hair. I think it won an Oscar even, which is really fun. I don't know if any of you ever have your parents help you with your hair, but sometimes parents don't always entirely know what's going on in the hair category. That's not a problem I have anymore, again, because I don't have head hair. But another book that I really love, because I'm always hungry and I love food, is called Hot Pot Night by Vincent Chen. And this one is a beautiful story of a whole bunch of people making hot pot. In a happy little hot pot even. I don't know if any of you have ever had hot pot before, but it's really fun and really delicious. There's a big bowl of hot broth and you get to cook your food in it with chopsticks, and it's so fun. But yeah, those are some of the picture books that I'm really, really excited about right now. Another question that I get asked sometimes, because I did start writing out books for teenagers, is whether it's really hard to go from writing books for teenagers to writing books for younger kids. And it's so funny because on the one hand, it's very easy because the books are shorter and so there's less words. But on the other hand, it's very, very hard because teenagers tend to be just a little, books for teenagers rather, tend to be a little more complicated. You can have a lot more going on in them. But that also makes it a little easy because you can tell the story from different angles. And when it's a picture book for younger kids, you have to be really focused on getting your ideas across really clearly. And the thing about young kids is that they are so smart and sharp, and they always know when you're not being honest with them or when you're talking down to them, and they don't like that. And I don't blame them really, because I don't like it when people talk down to me either. But that being said, they're also younger. They've not been alive as long, don't have the same experiences as older kids. And so you have to make sure that you're finding ways to be honest with them and communicate with them in a way that they can relate to and understand. And that was a really big challenge for me because I feel like I always think too much. And sometimes you need to just stop thinking and do. And so it was really, really challenging to get into that space. Another question that I often get is how much I actually worked with the illustrator, Zainab, on this book. And it's funny because the answer is really not very much. We've still never met. We live in different parts of the country, and we did not even know each other before this project began. One of the people that helps publish books is called an editor, and the editor is the one who basically decides that they're going to publish a book. And so my editor is named Dana, and when she said, okay, let's publish this picture book about Nowruz, she was the one who found an illustrator that she thought would work really well with the story I wanted to tell. And so she really kind of brought it all together. And the first time I even saw the illustrations, I saw some fresh sketches that were sent over by email. And I was actually at lunch with my family at the time. And me and my aunt and my cousin got to admire all the early sketches of the book and see Nowruz coming to life before our eyes. And that was really, really exciting. And thankfully for all of us, Zainab is very talented and good at filling the page with so much love and heart. And if it was up to me, it would all be stick figures because I'm very, very bad at drawing. And I'm even worse at coloring in the lines. Another question I sometimes get is whether this book is going to be translated to other languages or be available in other countries, and do I hope that will happen? And I very much do hope that it will happen. So far, it hasn't happened, but that's something that I think would be really, really amazing and special to see it translated into other languages maybe even someday translated into Farsi, which is what the Iranian language is called, and be available to people in Iran. Though I imagine in Iran, people do in fact know what Nowruz is, and kids don't need it as much to share with their friends. But I think that would be amazing and very exciting. Another question I get sometimes is how celebrations of Nowruz are different in Iran versus in the United States. And it's a little hard because I've never actually gotten to visit Iran. It's very complicated for Americans to go visit. So I only know what I hear from the family that I do still have there. But in large measure, they're very similar because Nowruz is one of the traditions that Iranian people who left Iran have kept very close to them. And whether it's in the United States or back in Iran, people still make their haftzins and they clean. And there are certain foods that are very common to serve on Nowruz, like fish with rice, which we call sabzi polo mahi. Different desserts like baklava, or in my family, khotab, which are these beautiful almond pastries that my aunt makes every year. But the significance of Nowruz is very much the same in Iran or in the United States. And it's a holiday that's been celebrated going back thousands of years. And so the traditions around it have been built up for such a long time that they're very meaningful to us. There are also holidays that kind of go on either side of Nowruz that are important. One is Charshan Besuri, which is basically the Tuesday night before Nowruz, when people build bonfires to jump over. And that's drawn from an old Zoroastrian tradition. And another one is Sizdah Bedar, which is the 13th day of the new year, where it's tradition to go on picnics. And so the whole kind of time around Nowruz is very important for Iranians and still for Iranian Americans. And boy, it's going to be upon us soon, and I'm really excited. Another question that I get quite frequently actually is, what's next for me? What am I working on as far as books? I actually do have another young adult novel coming out in 2022 called Kiss and Tell, about a Canadian boy band. And I do have a couple other projects that I'm working on, including more projects for younger readers. But so far they're all secret and I can't talk about them, which is a little frustrating, but also kind of exciting, because then I get to feel like Beyonce and just drop books on people with no warning, and that's really exciting. One question that I get sometimes, especially from older readers, is whether it's hard or challenging to write about gay characters or queer characters in general. Since I am a gay man, I always have felt that it's really important to make sure to represent queer people on the page, and not just people who are gay like me, but people who have all sorts of experiences, because the world is filled with all kinds of queer people, and I think it's really important to reflect that in writing. It can be challenging at times to write about that because, it's such an important part of who I am and the experiences I've had in my life. And not all those experiences have been good ones, but I think it's so important to use storytelling to help understand those experiences, or imagine what different experiences, perhaps happier experiences, could have been like. And I think the same is really true of being Iranian in general, being an immigrant in this country. Growing up, I don't know that I thought about what it meant to be an immigrant very much, but I was still a teenager when the September 11th attacks happened, and I was an adult when we had a president that hated immigrants and said we should all go back where we came from. And so I've really learned to kind of embrace who I am as an immigrant and as a queer person, and really celebrate them in my stories. That's really, really important to me. Well, it has been a real pleasure getting to talk with you all. I hope you're all enjoying the San Antonio Festival of Books. I certainly enjoyed my time getting to talk to you, even though it's a little weird since we're all staring at screens. But I hope someday, very soon, we'll all get to travel places and see each other in person. Thanks again to everyone at the San Antonio Book Festival for putting this together, and to Nowhere Bookshop for being an awesome festival bookstore. And I wish you all a happy Nowruz.